All right, I decided to shoot a quick video to walk you through doing your final project. So we're going to take you step by step and show you how you would do this assignment. Now, we have a couple of options. If you go through your module, and basically because you've done part one, you know that when it comes to your final project, you have three options. You could choose the Amazon project, and that data set is provided for you that you can use, right? You can choose to use the Remax real estate project, which is data set also provided for you, or you can choose um, to use um, the Zillow data analysis. This one, you have to type in your zip code and do it yourself. And I'm going to walk you through this one. Any of them is fine, right? You can do any of them, but we found in the past, those who have done this one have had, need a kind of a step-by-step approach if you're going to choose this one. So if you're going to choose this one, right, you would need to go to Zillow website. And what you do is you select Zillow, you select the website, you put in the zip code, which is your zip code. In my case, I just put in San Gabriel, California, right? Just you can type in your city or you just put in your zip code, whichever one works. And once you select your city, then you want to select, it gives you options here. So select multi-family, and then select for sale, not rent, not sold, for sale. No need to make any adjustments here, leave it the way it is. I mean, you can feel free to adjust if you want to, but I really don't think you need to worry about this. You don't need to worry about any of this, just leave it the way it is. And so if you can look here, right, you can see the houses here, right? You can see the houses and you see the prices. So we're asking that if you're going to do this option, just choose about 30. It has to be at least 30. And so you can see, you just click on the first one and it gives you all the information, right? It tells you that it's 1,348,000, 7-bedroom, 3 baths, the square feet is 3,047. And so it provides you the information and then it gives you the address, right? So you have the things you need. So for this assignment, you just need to have at least 5 data sets: the sales price, number of beds, number of baths, the square feet, and the address, right? So you're going to get 30 of this, from all these places, right? You're going to get from all that. If you happen to have only a few here, you can always expand your search by going to the next zip code. So here it's 911776. I will just type in 91776 so I can get for 775 and also for 776. And so you can get 30 homes. They need to be real addresses so you don't make them up. All right. So now that we have that, right, you will now come to your Excel. And so let me just show you how we did in Excel. And in Excel, you can see that you now have that. So you can see the house we're looking at that time, 1,348,000, 7-bedroom, 7-bath, square feet is 3,047. So you can see we have 30 homes here. Now, I just kind of made up some of these numbers just to show you how this would work. So you have the key things we're looking for: the address, the sales price, the number of beds, the number of baths, and the square feet. So now that we have this, right, we can go ahead and solve the questions that we're asked to do. All right. So let's start. So we can begin to look at part 2. Remember, in part 1, all you had to do was to select the one you want to work on. But in part 2, it tells us to do a couple of things. It asks us to provide a graphical representation it asks us to also go ahead and provide some basic 5-number summary, as well as the mean, the median, the mode, standard deviation, and interquartile range, and some of those things. We can do that easily, right? We can just go here. We can go ahead and insert by creating space for ourselves. So we're going to create space for ourselves here. Just to save us time, right? We can just come here and say, okay, what are they asking us to find? They're asking us to find a couple of things. And you don't have to do it here, right? You can say do it here, but just to make the work look much better, we want to put it here. Like I said, you can do it here too, that's fine. So we're asked to do a couple of things. We're asked to find the mean. We're asked to find median. We're asked to find the mode. We're asked to find the standard deviation. And we're asked to find the 5-number summary. So the 5-number summary means minimum Q1. And it also asks us to find Q3 and also maximum, right? So we have to do that. So we do the maximum. All right. And we also do Q3. We're not going to do Q2 because Q2 is the same as the median. So we're going to do Q3. And then we are also going to do the interquartile range. And I think that's all there is asked us to do, right? Mean, median, mode. Mean, median, modes, the deviations, 5-number summary, 1, 2, 3, 4. The 5th one is your median. All right. And then that's it. So that's what it's asking us to do. This 5 add this I mean, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And we can do that easily. We can do that easily because we just have 4 numbers that we're dealing with, and we know what we're looking for, right? So this is a descriptive analysis, right? We're doing a descriptive analysis here, so we can do that real easy. So I'm going to come here and make that bold. I'm going to say, all right, to find the mean. The average of these values, right? I do the average of these values, and that gives me the mean. And I have that. I can do the median. All right. I already know it's C2 to C31. I can do that. You can see, right? This literally doesn't take you much time. It takes you seconds to do this. And so there's not a lot of work required here. So here you have mode where you have 2 values that are mode, and that's a small issue. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to do insert, because we have 2 value numbers that are mode here. All right. And so I'm going to go here. I'm going to do mode. And this is D2, D31. And we're going to drag that to that. All right. So this is still mode. So we know that we have 2 modes here. Let's make emphasis on that. All right. And so the next one we have is standard deviations, right? And with standard deviations, we know that they're sample because we just made a selection, right, from the entire batch that we have. So we do that. Okay, minimum. What are different quartiles too? This one is first one. And so what we're just doing here is we're trying to allow you to kind of showcase what you've learned from week one and from the beginning of the class and apply them in a real scenario. So it's not, you're not just doing it more of as theory, but now you're applying what we've studied into a real life question, right? And so you can see we're applying that here. So this is something that you could say, okay, I could try it even in my own job or even personally, right? If I want to just get data about a place, or how do I analyze data I get? So you see, we just finished that. It took us what? Barely 3 minutes, and we're done with the key part. So the next thing we're told to do is to do the confidence interval, right? So remember, we've done the descriptive one. And so the next step is to do our confidence interval. And we can do our confidence interval here. Right? We can do that here. And remember, for our confidence interval, we need to have a couple of things, right? Remember, if you're doing a confidence interval, you need to have your margin of error, and then you add or subtract with your mean. And we already have our mean here, so we don't have to worry about that. But our confidence interval usually contains our alpha, right? And we're already giving our alpha here as 0.05. And we know that because in the question, we are told that we should use 95% level of confidence. So that means our C is equal, small c is equal to 95%. And so our margin of error, we use our alpha for 0.05. Now, what is our margin of error made of? So remember, right? Remember, we have a set of numbers that are 30 or more. And so we use normal z values instead of using t. And if you remember, when you do your confidence interval, right, for num, right, what are you supposed to use? Your alpha, your standard deviation, and your size, right? We have our alpha as 0.05 given, it's right here. Our standard deviation is right here. Our size is what we don't have. So that's what we need to go find. All right, so we'll now say sample size. All right, and that'll be equal to count, right? And we do this because you want to make sure that you use your formulas, which one shows that you understand the concept, and two, if a mistake is done, which can happen to anyone, we can easily correct that mistake without having to do any issues. So our margin of error will now be equal to our confidence.num, right? Our alpha is given here, our standard deviation is given right here, and our size is given right here, right? So we got everything we need. The only thing that we might need to hold constant is this, right? We need to hold that constant. Press enter. And then we can then drag the rest, right? Because the rest we can see it holds that constant standard deviation. We can see that for the next one. We can see that for this one too. All right. We can see that for this one too. So now that we have a margin of error, you can have a lower interval or endpoint, and we can have what? Upper interval. So now we can do that, right? So for it will be a mean minus a margin of error, right? And we can drag that. Then this one will be equal to our mean plus a margin of error. You can drag that. So you can see we found our confidence interval. Now we can once we're done with this, we can always go into analysis to come and explain our results. But see, now we're done with with a confidence interval. Now, the last part is saying that we should create a regression model, and we should do a couple of things with the regression model, right? We can do that, right? So remember what we did here is you can do them on separate sheets if you want to. So some students, what they'll do is they'll do the descriptive, and then on the next sheet, they'll then do the regression. All right? That's up to you. It's totally up to you. As the key thing is you want to arrange your work so that I'm able to understand what is going on. And that is the most important thing. So for the sake of making it very clear, right, we're going to say that we'll do the regression here, right? So what the question is saying is we should provide a correlation coefficient, we should find the dependent and independent variables, and then we should create a regression model. Now, from what we know is that clearly price is our dependent, right? And so if you want, you can always come here. Let's see if I can do that. So insert. All right. So we can come here and put our Y here, and this becomes our X1. This is our X2. This is our X3. So this becomes a dependent variable, and then these three are independent variables, right? So we can use that to predict sales based on these three values that we have. Right? So we have to create a regression model. That's easy, right? We'll go into data. We go into data analysis. We'll scroll down and select regression. And then it's asking for our Y. So we're going to select our Y variable right here. And then we set our X variable right here. All right, we select labels. Now, we may not have covered this. When you're watching this, we may not have covered this in class, but we're going to cover it soon if we haven't. If we have, then you kind of already know what I'm doing here. Okay. All right. And I'm going to click on line fit plots. That way I can say I provided two graphs that I wanted. And so you select output range, which means you select where you want your results to be. So I'll say right here. Then I hit OK. All right. So if you look at this data set that we have here, so we've created. So remember the question says we should provide at least two graphs, right? Okay, we have graphs for them here. Two graphs here. So we've solved that question of providing graphs. You say two, we have three for them. All right. Now, we have created a regression model. They're asking us for a correlation coefficient, which is here. We have that. And then the question is asking us to provide the output, which we just did, to create a regression model. Okay, we can do that, right? A regression model will be, so I'm just going to come here and say regression model. Of Y is equal to, right? Remember, you're going to use these values that you have here, right? You're going to use the values you have here. And so that would be 208, 3232 minus 11831.5 x1 plus 33553.52 x2 minus 156.193 x3. All right. So we've solved a key question that we're required to do. And so the last part is we should test for if this is valid, right? To test if it's valid. And so remember, to test that's valid, we have to set up two hypothesis tests. The first one is that we're going to say that the population slope is equal to 0, right? And if population slope is equal to 0, you know, right? There is no relationship. All right. The second one, we're going to set up H sub A. All right. Let's fix this. We'll say all population slopes are equal to 0. The second one, we're going to say at least one population slope is not equal to. Let me see if I can get the sign here. And not equal to sign, insert, close. All right. So if that's the case, then there is a relationship. All right. All right. So now we have to kind of test this, right? Remember, we're trying to test to see if this relationship between prices and both bedrooms, bathrooms, and square feet is significant. So we need to do that by using our p-value, all right, and comparing that to the level of significance. Remember, right, the p-values are right here. We don't have to look for them right here. So the p-values here, copy the p-values from here, we'll place them here. And the level of significance is what? 0.05. So for this one, now you can see this is p-value is greater than that one, so it cannot be. Greater than that one cannot be. And also greater than that one. So in all of these cases, the p-value is greater. And once p-value, if p-value is greater, I remember what I told you guys, p-value is greater. Right? That tells you a big deal, right? So that tells you that then level of significance, we do not, or we fail, we reject. It's an O, right? And remember, H of O is saying that there's no relationship, right? So now we conclude the prediction. We can conclude at 5% level of significance that there isn't a relationship between sale prices and any of the independent variables. All right. So that kind of answers the key question that we're trying to solve. So you've done the hard part, right? You've done all the hard part. So that's part B, part 2, where you do all the data analysis. Now we get to the part where you have to now present that to someone who may not know anything about stat. And that's what happens in the real world, right? You do your analysis, and then now you have to explain to someone that doesn't know. So think of your younger brother or sister or friend or cousin or neighbor or dad or mom who may not be knowledgeable in statistics. And so your job is now to explain it to them. So that's where the third part comes in. And so what you would do is, like any paper you write in any class, right? You start with a cover page, right? And the cover page is just a nice place to kind of, so, you know, I'll put my name for that cover page, and then I'll put my school. And then, and usually it depends. You can put the name of the project first, right? All right. So now I have this as my it's supposed to be my first page. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, so now I have this as my first page, right? It's called my cover page. And now I'm told to do some things. And so the goal is, if you have a page titled, it doesn't have to be a page, it could be a paragraph, right? Titled introduction. So which includes the final version of your paragraph from part 1. So I'm going to start with having a subheading or a heading called paragraph. And in this paragraph, for me, I would say, my research is on houses in my zip code using Zillow search or Zillow websites. Remember, yours will be different because you probably use the Amazon or use the Remax, right? And I selected this topic so I could analyze the trends, the trend prices of homes around me. This is your own, this is what you wrote. Remember, this is what you sent to me in week 1. So nobody's asking for anything fancy here. It's just to tell us why you chose this topic. And you don't lose any points for anything you put here because it's your choice, right? And why you did that. All right. So you're done with that. The second part now says that you should do your data analysis, right? Which this is where you write a lot, because this includes all that you carried out your research, right? So it includes the 3 parts, right? There's the descriptive, there's the, I got to fix that, descriptive, there is the confidence interval portion, and then there's the regression portion, right? And so these are the 3 parts that you did. And so what we want to do is for you to tell us what you did, right? We want to know what happened with that research, right? So I found that the mean cost of mean prices of homes in San Gabriel was, and so you in this case, you are trying to explain your data so that your manager, who has no knowledge in stat, can get an idea of what you did, right? And so just going back to look at what I had, so was 1608590, while the average number of bed and baths were 4 and 3 respectively. Average square feet was 3383. More homes cost 171,100, because that's your mode, right? And the cheapest home was, that's your mean 02100, while the most expensive home in the area was, that's the maximum, right? 271,000. 298,000, right? This area is certainly for high income earners, since the average wage in San Gabriel is, this is something that you can check and see, right? Just making up the number here, but let's say it's 100,000. So that's descriptive. So what you're just doing is you're just kind of providing information of what you did, so that someone who has no knowledge of statistics can look at this and tell, right? So we kind of told this someone who can look at this and they can get a glimpse of what you did. And then the confidence interval, right? We did not know, they did not have the average cost of homes in the entire San Gabriel area, but using a sample of 30 homes, we can, right? We can conclude at a 95% with, okay, conclude with 95% level of confidence that the mean cost of homes in the area will lie between, so now you're using the lower and upper interval, right? Between 1,488,076 and 1,729,104. Remember, right? This is a value you got from doing your confidence interval. And remember, the goal of the confidence interval is to, in fact, tell you what the population mean will lie. So it gives you a range, right, that it will fall into. And so that's what we're saying, right? So we're saying that for the whole of that city, we're saying that we have 95% confidence that the average cost of homes there will fall within this two range. All right, that's what we are saying. The third one is a regression. So what the regression did was a couple of things. It helped us to show us how much beds, baths, and square feet affected price. And so we see that there was not a strong relationship, right? In fact, there was no relationship. That's what we found. So we tried to find what the key criteria or criteria might, what the key variables are to predict price of homes in the area. We used beds, baths, and square feet. Although they affected the price of homes by about 11%. These variables did not have significant effects or relationship with home prices. Other variables may need to be examined for better analysis. Now remember, right? This is an unusual case where we didn't find a significant relationship, and so we're saying that the relationship was not significant, right? It existed, but it was not significant. You would probably find a significant relationship, so you would not have this conclusion that I have. You know, your conclusion might be much better, but we have to go with what I have, and mine were made up numbers, and so that's why we had this kind of sad results. But when you do your regression, you probably find a significant relationship, and then you can explain what that means, right? Now, it now says we should have a section which is called a conclusion, which includes a paragraph with the following. So you have to have a conclusion. So we're going to go ahead and do a conclusion. But the conclusion we have a couple of things. It will have your original research, right? So let's say that's A. It will have your original research, right? It would have a statement. So original question, it will have a statement. And then it will also have this. Let me get this all fixed. All right. So you're going to have 4 of this, right? So this is kind of easy, right? You just come here and say, it says, what's the original research question? So mine is 0, right? 0 zip code, right? Comparing houses using 0. Second one says a statement using your conclusion to answer your research question. So I would write that my research helped to show the relationship. First of all, it helped to show the price, the average price, the average cost, mean, the median mode, and all the information about the area. They helped me also show what the population mean of the houses will range, was confidence interval. But it also showed me that bed, bath, and square feet do not have a significant relationship on the price of homes in this area. So maybe there's something else, right, that we need to study on that. And then question 3, it says a statement explaining the changes that you would make if you were to do the research over again. And this is up to you. For me, I would say, based on this, I'll say I probably should have used a different city. Maybe I would have got better results. I should have used maybe homes that are less than $1 million. Maybe I would have gotten better results. Maybe I would have expanded my research. Instead of 30 homes, I should have gone to 50, because a bigger sample might give me better results, right? So those are kind of suggestions that you can add. If yours is, everyone is different. So just giving you from mine. The last one now says a statement explaining whether working alone worked well for you or whether you would have preferred working with others. Personally, for me, I like to do, I like teamwork, but I found in the past that sometimes teamwork can slow you down. So for me, this is better done alone. Now for you, you can say, oh, I would have preferred working with someone else so that you can handle some of the calculations while I do the write-up. Right. So these are kind of your thoughts, right? And on what would have made this project better. I like to leave my work always in 12 times New Roman. So you don't see me do that a lot. So this is how you're going to write your project, right? And then this is all going to be double spaced, right? So this is going to be double spaced, right? Oh, what did I do? So it's going to be double space, and then all the subheadings will be in bold. Right? So you should be able to get a good 3 pages at least. Now I'm saying 2 pages is where you should head to, but please don't limit yourself, right? If you have 1 page is not enough, you should have at least 2 pages writing your report. And this is all there is to this project. If after watching this, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you with your projects. But I hope this makes a lot of sense to you. And this helps you understand how to do your project moving forward. Thank you.